You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Welcome in to another Six Screen Sunday. And we're so glad you're with us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon up here in New England. And I hope it's nice where you are. And boy, what a program that was that Anne Marie just did. And her and Jeff did a wonderful program on helping people be able to work their way loose from the Watchtower and feel good when they do. But anyways, we've got news to discuss today. As I say, my name is Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the hub of the universe. That's right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And we're in good company. Lots of apostates up here. But I'll tell you what, I told you last night, I'm going to stand firm on it, that if you are feeling like, my relatives are never going to talk to me again, my daughters, my sisters, my father, my mother, hey, the Calvary's showing up. They're learning. They are learning about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are learning how evil they are. And there's many right now distancing themselves. And don't worry, you're going to get a call soon, but be nice now. Be nice when your Jehovah's Witness friends and relatives that haven't talked to you, in some cases for over 20 years, be nice when they call. In fact, I'll tell you what, even start taking some notes on what you're going to say. I want you to be prepared. Take some notes on what you're going to say because it's going to be happening soon. Isn't that good news? It is good news. And I'm not just looking through rose-colored glasses. If you could spend a week with me and take a look at the emails that I get, I'm going to have to start reading some of these emails. I think I'll make a segment on Saturday night reading some of the emails I'm getting and people leaving the Watchtower. You'll be fascinated. Well, today's a special day, right? Well, in the world of sports, it is. And of course, that's the Super Bowl. Well, that's tonight. And I don't know who you want to win, whether it be the Eagles or whether it be the Kansas City Chiefs. But I know a lot of people are getting involved with this. They're really looking forward to the game. And I think it should be good entertainment. Now, this is one of the only times that Jehovah's Witnesses can actually get together and enjoy a little party, a little get together. And as we know, that's exactly what many do today. They have a Super Bowl party. When you're a witness, maybe you went to a Super Bowl party. Seems to be one of the only days of the year that they can really celebrate, so to speak. I've been to a number of them with the witnesses, and I'm sure they're doing it today. But it's going to be interesting. How many Jehovah's Witness carts, those little carts they wheel around with the pamphlets on them, how many of those are going to be at the Super Bowl game? I'm estimating there's going to be over 100. Yeah. And I'm just predicating that on past events like the Pan American Games in Lima, Peru. They had hundreds. In fact, there was about 3,000 Jehovah's Witnesses who participated outside the stadium with their carts talking to people as they were going into the Olympic Games. And also in Pyeongchang, that's Korea, South Korea, 2018 Olympics, the Winter Games. There was 7,100 brothers and sisters from throughout the country that participated in that cart campaign. So, the Watchtower, they use these as kind of like bragging events, photo ops. Now, how many people are going to be at the Super Bowl today? Well, there's going to be estimates of up to 100,000 people. The stadium, they'll probably seat about 75,000, but it's out there in Glendale, Arizona, which is nice and warm, I'm sure, today. And they're going to have a lot of witnesses there as well, trying to get the attention of all the sports enthusiasts as they go into the Super Bowl. Now, remember back in 2018, the witnesses showed up for the 52nd annual Super Bowl that was held up in Viking Stadium up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And on that day, it was 5 degrees above zero. I mean, that was cold. So they got a little easy, the witnesses this time, but there was a bunch of witnesses then that showed up. And now we're going to see, I'm estimating over 100 carts will be at the Super Bowl. Maybe if you look close when they show some of the panoramic views of the stadium, maybe you'll see some witnesses standing there. So, anyways, I think we talked about this last night. You know what the average ticket is to go to the Super Bowl this year? $10,000. That's the average ticket. So that would mean that, well, some tickets I heard about, I think the lowest one was in the 6,000 range, but I'm sure some of the tickets probably go up to 30,000, maybe even more than that. I don't know. I've never been to a Super Bowl game. But anyways, I'm imagining, as I say, if you brought your wife or a friend, you bought their ticket, that cost you 20 grand just to go to the Super Bowl. So after shelling out all that money for a ticket, I don't think they're going to get many people stopping and taking pamphlets from the Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to be telling them, first of all, you know, you've been in the witness world like me, and we had more of a tough time preaching in a well-to-do neighborhood. Did you ever notice that? And I'm sure where you were preaching, there was like the higher side of town and the lower side. We always seem to bring more people in from the lower side. Why is that? Well, when people have a lot of money, like these people going to the Super Bowl, I mean, you're not going to find anyone poor there. They're not interested in. They have their life. They think their life is grandiose. They're living their dream. So it's going to be, the witness would be better off showing up at maybe like a frog jumping race or something like that. Probably be poor people there. They could find more takers, but they're going to get very few takers at the Super Bowl. Can you imagine Serena Williams? I mean, now that she's a baptized witness, can you imagine her manning a cart at this year's Super Bowl? Wouldn't that be something to see? That would be totally amazing. But, I'll tell you what, this whole cart witnessing deal that they got going at these sporting events, this isn't a way to really recruit people and draw them into the cult. Friends, this is all about advertising. This is all about business. This is a photo op, and they're going to plaster all over their website and magazines. They're going to brag about all of the cart witnessing done at the Super Bowl through their public information department. You'll get some of these people coming on, some of these shysters from Watchtower, and they're going to come on and they're going to tell you how wonderful it worked out at the Super Bowl. But I'm going to tell you, I can tell you right now, and I would be willing to say they're not going to select anybody to man one of these carts at the Super Bowl. They're not going to have a 75-year-old sister who has wrinkles, who might even have a diabetic amputated leg. They're not going to have her man the cart, and they're not going to have a 60-year-old brother tipping the scales. They're not going to have him there. No, they're going to pick young, attractive witnesses, handpicked, like a 22-year-old pioneer sister, beautiful, and maybe even a 21-year-old elder, and tall, dark, and handsome. And they're going to take pictures, and they're going to be dressed nice. And this is big time for the witnesses. This is big time for the public relations department. So it's strictly business, friends, strictly business. How many people are actually going to stop and grab a pamphlet, someone dressed up in a tie and a suit? Really, when you stop and think about it, it's not going to happen. Well, yeah, let's move on. We got other stories to talk about. I hope all goes well. I hope your team wins today. And we can kind of root for our teams. We can watch the Super Bowl. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Well, you know what I came across too this week, going through the news here for what's going on behind the curtains. Turkey in Syria. Well, you know what I'm talking about. Earthquakes, big time. I guess the toll now is up to 20,000 plus people died. And really, the witnesses are making a really big deal about this. That's what they're talking about on Facebook, on the witness groups. That's what they're talking about in various witness forums, and how close they are to the end, because look at the earthquakes. Matthew 24 chapter is coming true. Earthquakes in one place after another. And, it's the same what the witnesses do is they grab any little thread, any little disaster event, and they really have to promote it to be the end of the world. And, they did the same thing with COVID when that hit 3 years ago. And, now that that's over, that's done with now almost. And you're going to get Turkey, and that's going to be up. But there'd be something else. In fact, there was even some witnesses, if you can believe it, they were even looking at that balloon, that Chinese balloon flying over America, they were even thinking, "Oh my goodness, this has got to be the end. Look at this. This is the end of the world. There's no peace here." So I mean, no matter how you slice it and dice it, they love to make a big deal out of a disaster. They love good old fashioned disasters, and they love the virus. They love the virus. And I'll tell you what, if you guys remember Tony McCallum Morris, well, he's a governing body member. He was the one that Jeff was just talking about on the program that was buying that very expensive Scotch whiskey in the liquor store up there in New York. But anyways, Tony McCallum Morris, he actually did a talk, and we played it on the 6 screens, and I'll never forget it. It was when the COVID disaster hit, the virus, I should say. When that hit, he came on and he more or less said, "That's it. That's it. It's done. Armageddon's right around the corner. It's right here. This is it. Jehovah is seeing that, this is going to really be a problem. He's going to bring Armageddon." That's what he said 3 years ago. So, they get so excited about tragedies. Did you get excited about a tragedy? Now, I hate to admit this, but, I was a witness for 50 years of my life, and I said many a prayer at the Kingdom Hall, as many of you folks out there have as well, at least the men. They don't let women pray. But, you get up on the platform and you'd say a prayer. And I can remember when there was problems, Hurricane Andrew, for example. Hurricane Andrew. You get up and you give a prayer. The brothers would always say, "Well, we pray for our brothers and sisters down in South Florida because the hurricane really was devastating." Well, a lot of other people other than Jehovah's Witnesses felt the brunt end of that too. But, no mention of that. And I wouldn't mention, I feel so bad now. I wouldn't even, when I'd say a prayer, I would always say a prayer for our brothers and sisters, but I wouldn't include the rest of the people. Now, I know that sounds like, I don't know what you'd call that, kind of like, well, I wouldn't be racist, but would it be discriminatory? I guess it could be discriminatory, right? You're discriminating against everybody else. Yeah, normal Christians, they pray, and they pray for all people, and they pray for people that aren't even Christian, and they really appreciate that by a person coming to grips with their creator, that people can be helped. And I think it's amazing. I saw the other day, and you guys might have saw it too. It was on the news. It almost brought, well, really, I almost got teary eyed doing it. I had to kind of just stop and think a little bit. There was a grandmother over there in Turkey, and she was hugging her little granddaughter, was about probably 10, and she was crying and weeping, and she lost her 2 other grandchildren. Your heart's gonna go out for something like that. I immediately stopped and prayed. I did. I just stopped and I said, "I gotta pray for this woman." She wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. I don't even know if she was a Christian, but I just felt like I was moved to say a prayer for this woman. My heart went out for her. So, millions and millions of dollars are being donated right now by churches and various governmental groups. Now, I'm wondering how much money the Watchtower is sending to Turkey and Syria. I don't think it's too much. So I just have to say the Jehovah's Witness organization, I'm gonna call them a headline chasing cult. Yeah, they're gonna try to make a buck on everything. They're a headline chasing cult. You just heard Jeff. He was on here earlier. He told his story, and you can see the damage the Watchtower does to so many people. And what they do is they keep people in by all of this foolishness. Well, Armageddon's right around the corner. My goodness, it's just unreal what they do, and they get away with it. But how much longer can they actually get away with it? That's the position I find myself in right now, and that's why I'm so happy to tell you the Watchtower's dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Really, that's the way I look at it. Where's it going to go? Well, what is it going to do to pull themselves out of this quicksand? They're sinking fast. They got the big mega studio going on. They're supposedly breaking ground. I don't hear too much about it lately. But what's going to happen? I mean, where are they going? They're dead in the water, friends. People know it. Take them off the grill. They're cooked. Seriously. Well, I also wanted to share some other things here with you. I mean, we talked about a lot of things last night, but I had some news I didn't get to last night. Before we move to the news I didn't get to, I just want to reiterate one of the top stories this week in the Jehovah's Witness news. It had to do with what's going on in Pennsylvania. That is becoming the Jehovah's Witness pedophile capital of the world down there. The Attorney General, her name is Michelle Henry. Man, she's a pit bull. She is a pit bull. And she announced just this week on television, all of the major cities, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Reading, Erie, all of the major cities, I'm sure, covered the news. Many witnesses would have seen it. So Attorney General Henry, she announced 5 charges against 5 Jehovah's Witness men for sexual abuse of children all across Pennsylvania. Now, that is just over the top. But what really ticked this woman off, Attorney General Henry, she was so upset that just back in October, she wasn't the Attorney General then. There was a man named Shapiro. He became the governor, but he had an investigation back then, in just a few months back in October, and they caught 4 Jehovah's Witness pedophile men in congregations and committing acts of perversion on children. So now we got 9, just in less than 6 months. We've been, well, about 6 months. So we got 9 Jehovah's Witness child molesters in the state of Pennsylvania that we know about. Those are only the ones we know about. And I'll tell you what, it's just getting deeper and deeper. And this woman, Henry, the Attorney General, like I say, she's a pit bull. And I listened to her whole speech about it. And she says, we are not going to tolerate this in the state of Pennsylvania. We are coming after you. And then she put a tip line on at the end of her speech, or her little talk on rounding these pedophiles up. She mentioned that the last time they did this back in October, Shapiro, who was the Attorney General then, he had a tip line. And he said, now call this number if you have anyone that you know is being molested, and specifically addressing it to Jehovah's Witnesses. And you know what? These 5 people came about because of that. Yeah, they were tattled on. Isn't that wonderful? You know, that's one thing I do like, is people tattling on pedophiles. They have to be tattled on. We can't let these guys get away with it. So that was the biggest story. We talked a lot about it last night, but I want to bring something up here today that I found very, very fascinating. In fact, I found it very interesting too. Now, we have a friend, his name is Atlantis, and he's an insider, and he sends me these elders' letters. Now, Atlantis is an insider at the Watchtower. I don't know if he's at Warwick or whether he's a renegade circuit overseer or whoever he is, but he has privy to some of these letters. And he's been sending them to me, and well as other people too, Kim and Mikey, and I'm sure Cedars gets them. But he likes the 6 screens. He told me that. In fact, he says, I feel privileged giving you these, give you to my notes. So thank you, Atlantis. If you're listening in out there, thank you very much. But anyways, the newest letter I got, it's talking about, well, it's concerning instructions for the 2023 preaching campaign. Friends, the witnesses are going on a tremendously large campaign of trying to recruit new people into the cult. So anyways, here's some of the instructions I'm going to read to you for the 2023 preaching campaign. Friends, it's massive. They're trying to get everybody they possibly can out in this campaign. Now, the campaign period, the campaign in large cities, what they're doing, I'll just kind of break this down and I'll read you what's being said here. But what they're doing is they want people to kind of go where the need is great. Now, many of you people listening in here today, you were, well, some people refer to them as need graders. Some people just refer to people, witnesses who go where the need is great. Whatever you call it, they're looking for more of them. And they have a campaign where they're looking to do two types of witnessing work here. One is going to be unassigned territory. Now, what is unassigned territory? Well, first of all, unassigned territory is a place where there is no witness kingdom halls. There's no congregations within miles. So they're trying to get as many Jehovah's Witnesses as possible to sign up for this campaign. Now, this campaign is running from March 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2023. And you can sign up for, if you're going to, they want a minimum of at least 5 days and a maximum of 3 months. So they want you to try to, they want you to try to spend as much time as you possibly can. They just don't want someone showing up for a day. So they're looking for people to go to where the need is great. It can be in this country, it can be in another country, but they say right here in the letter, don't expect any monetary help. You have to do that on your own. It's your own dime. So don't come, clamoring to us that you need money to do this. So first of all, it's going to be wealthy witnesses only, right? How's a poor person going to go to Costa Rica or, Guatemala to do unassigned territory? Or even right here, we got an unassigned territory because I know I was a territory servant for a while in the Kingdom Hall, and we have unassigned territory up in Maine, for example, and down in West Virginia, and down in those areas. There's a lot up down in Appalachia. So, witnesses are going to go to these unassigned territories. That's what they're looking for right now. Boy, they're really trying to recruit more people into this cult, I'll tell you. So that's one thing you can do. You can go to an unassigned territory and you can go there and preach till the day is long and on your own dime. So that's one way you can participate. Now, here's something I never heard of. I never heard of. I heard of going to unassigned territory, but now they specifically have two different segments of unassigned territory. This first segment, like I just told you, it's like a rural area. Now, the other segment has to deal with urban areas. They're looking for witnesses to go to urban centers like Mexico City or big cities around the world where they're not really gaining a lot of traction. That is, the Jehovah's Witnesses aren't gaining traction. So they want to send you there with a cart and even do some door-to-door work. So you can sign up for two different segments. You can pick what you want. You go to an urban area or you can go to a rural area. So that I find that fascinating. I never heard of this idea of urban areas, but now the carts, see, they think they got this down pat now. So they'll be wheeling those carts out and certainly trying to get as much information as they can about jw.org. But notice this deals with expenses, and legal procedures. All participants must have sufficient resources to cover their transportation, rent, and food expense. And then they give a scripture there. What is it? I can't quite see it. Is it Luke? I guess it's Luke 14. I didn't look it up. I just saw it pop up here. But anyways, you have to go on your own dime. I'm just wondering, what's it going to cost for Jehovah's Witness to go away for, say, a month, just a month? Now, never mind the 3-4 months they want you to go. But if they just go away for a month, transportation, rent, and food expenses. Jeez, you're talking thousands of dollars here today. This isn't like chump change. This is expensive. And now they're also saying it is important to be proactive and find out about issues such as hiring health insurance. Yeah, they're not gonna. In other words, you better get insurance. Get health insurance if you're gonna go down to Guatemala or down to Costa Rica or somewhere like that in Central America. They're not gonna pay for your health insurance. If you get sick, they're not gonna help you out. They want you to get your own insurance, and they want you to get everything together, and they want you to plan on using a vehicle to travel from one country to another. So you got to get down there now, and you got to rent a car. Hey, have you rented a car lately? Hey, they're expensive. The days of renting a car for $10 a day, those days are gone. You rent a car these days. I don't know what it's like down in Central America or some of these third world countries, but you rent a car here in America, I can tell you right now, you're going to get like a very inexpensive little car. And it's not even going to be a luxury car. Don't even expect a mid-sized car. Just one of these little tiny cars, and you're gonna end up paying probably about $1,000 for the week. So you got to be rich just to go down here. But the Watchtower, man, with all the billions of dollars they're taking in, selling real estate all over the place, and they can't even help the people that you're on your own dime. So I thought you'd enjoy that. It's amazing to me what the Watchtower gets away with. So I wanted to read you that today. I didn't get a chance last night. But if you're listening in and you'd like to comment on any of this, go ahead, speak up. Just hit *6. Let us know what you think. Go ahead. Yes.
But like the Super Bowl thing, Rick, I want to know, like, are they going to be like right up by the stadium? Because I can remember last year, the Super Bowl was in Los Angeles, and maybe it'd be cheaper in Arizona, but you had to pay hundreds of dollars just to eat car anywhere close to it. So, like, are they like just down the street, or are they going to be right up by the stadium?
Well, it all depends on who you know. Now,
right.
I did hear that you can't get too close to the stadium. I mean, they're not going to be like 100 feet from the entrance, but they'll be all over the area. I'm sure. I've never been out to that area of Arizona, so I don't know.
I just know it. I know the Super Bowl, like you said, it's super expensive, and even park your car, there's going to be an outrageous price. Maybe right. I don't know. Maybe they take there on a bus. I don't know, but
that's a thought too. They're going to have to travel there and park their car, and I can just imagine what they get at Super Bowl parking. Jeez. Unbelievable.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I can remember hearing about it. It was hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Well, like the interesting thing, you mentioned in Maine, like I can remember, like when I lived in the southern near Detroit, it wasn't uncommon. I think my folks went once. They would go down to like Kentucky for do unassigned territory. Some people would do this like every year. Did you ever do that yourself for like a week?
No, I thought of it. My two pioneer daughters did it. They went down to it was actually in eastern, I think it was eastern Kentucky, Pike, Kentucky, really rural.
That's where my parents went, Rick. They went to Pikesville, Kentucky.
Is that right? Yeah, that's that was really rural. My daughters came home and they said, "Dad, you can't believe," but there was no congregations down there, and they got some people who wanted to become Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't usually get witnessed to down there,
Because I remember when my folks went, I think they went twice. I did go with them once, but I remember this because there was an auditorium there, for music, and some of the people in the witness group, they went there to see a Billy Ray Cyrus. Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh yeah.
This is probably around 2000 or so, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Your parents went there. They might have went down, when my daughters went down there. Yeah, they had a whole group of witnesses go down there. Yeah, so anyways, it's just amazing to me that, but then, they want you, Mike, just as going through the expenses there. Well, what's it going to cost someone to go away like that for a month? Geez, renting cars and food and hotel and air expense and all of that. My goodness, that's going to cost you $6-7 grand right there just to start, Unreal. All right.
If you went to some of those, like you mentioned Costa Rica, maybe there you could go around on like a moped or like one of those scooters.
Yeah, maybe a little rickshaw. Boy, I'll tell you though, aren't you glad you're out, Mike? Who could do this? Even I was just thinking as I was reading that story about the pedophiles in Pennsylvania. I'll tell you, if I was in Pennsylvania right now with 9 pedophile Jehovah's Witnesses all over the news, I would not be going out in service. I'd be so embarrassed. I would. I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
I thought about that, Rick, and like I was thinking about this. Like, you got to just imagine, like, so this was on the news. Like, I just in my mind thought, well, I guess they're meeting. So if you went to that congregation where people were arrested, then like I know at least one of them was an elder. I read the account, but don't you think there's people in the congregation? They got children, or whether they got kids, not. Don't you think somebody might ask an elder? Like in my mind, I was thinking, did you know that this brother was accused of this? And you think at least one would ask an elder that maybe they know well. Did you know? Did you ever hear any of these allegations? You know, I wonder what they would say. I mean, my guess is they wouldn't answer their questions, but you know, or like the elders. I guess when it comes to religion, I guess religion can make a good person do a bad thing. Is the way I'll put it. You might in your mind, maybe you knew this person, but you don't do that because you don't want to go against what your religion teaches. You know this person's doing this. Well, you'll just something bad.
Yeah, but you brought a good point up there. And Mike, I have to tell you, the elders have got to be being bombarded by questions in Pennsylvania, at least. That they got to be. I can't imagine that anyone who has any sensibleness in a congregation, and you heard that on the news, I would be running into the meeting the next day and approaching an elder and say, I see the witnesses on the news. You know anything about this? They have got to be bombarded with questions like that,
I don't know. I watched this to it because the investigation's going further. Like, I'm just wondering is, are they gonna? I know the idea. I'm not a lawyer. You have clergy and whatnot, so they have to inform people. But don't you think that in my mind, I was thinking, if they put the screws on these elders, I'm assuming that some of these elders under the pressure, they're just gonna fold and, as the saying goes, flip and turn evidence over to the state. That's kind of what I'm assuming they're going to try to do. I mean,
Well, they got to do it now. They're trapped, and there was even a talk given at Bethel. Yeah.
I was looking at it like this: if you're an elder, are you willing to go to prison for these guys? If it comes down to that, some of them ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think the Watchtower is going to. They might send a lawyer there to defend you, but they ain't gonna take care of your family if you go to prison.
Well, no. You in fact, if elders are listening to this program right now, or listening to the recorded version of it, think about leaving. You are putting your life, your family, your house, everything in jeopardy. I would really seriously think about looking for the exit door at the Kingdom Hall. Well, Mike, thank you. We're going to get moving on to the next program. We got the Christian Court coming up. Sounds like a pretty good program. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Yeah. So anyways, we do have the Christian Court coming up next. We have 2 Bible scholars that will be coming on and answering questions. Now, today they got some interesting questions. One of the questions would be concerning women pastors. What's the Bible say about a woman pastor? Also, we got other questions here. What about alcohol? How should we view alcohol? And also, another question we'll be talking about today is polygamy. The Old Testament, my goodness, it's all throughout the Old Testament of polygamy. When did it change and why did it change? And how about aliens in the Bible? What are the existence of aliens and what would it mean for Christians if aliens showed up? These are the questions we'll be asking in the Christian Court today. So stay tuned for that program. We're looking forward to it. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming in today to JW World News Sunday edition. Now, you stay tuned to the 6 Screens. We got some really good programs coming up next Saturday night as well. We've got a behavioral therapist. Now, this woman's a top-notch woman. She knows the business. She works evidently in a hospital setting right now. She's a former Jehovah's Witness. She'll be coming on Saturday night, 9:30. We're looking forward to it. All right, folks, we're going to end this broadcast, and then we're going to go to the Christian Court. Stay with us, and thank you for coming in and being with us today.